My name is Fletcher. I had a Birmingham Hip Resurfacing operation in 1998. I live in County Durham. I'm an ex-teacher, retired. I'm very keen on sports. I am a climber, a canoeist, a hang glider pilot, a paraglider pilot, a keen cyclist and a runner. Before the operation, I was suffering quite a lot of pain with my left hip. I could still run, nowhere near as fast as I had been able to, and the next day after a run I could hardly run at all. I couldn't barely walk. So it was getting worse as well. It wasn't extremely bad at the time, but it was getting worse. And very shortly I wasn't going to be able to partake in any leg sports. I was looking to take up canoeing again, which I already had been, or sailing or something where I could do sat down. I was told I needed a hip replacement, but the National Health Service was loath to do it because I was too young. I was visiting a friend who lived in Kidderminster, and I saw an advertisement in his local newspaper for Dr. McMinn's prosthesis, which was experimental at the time. Although I worked as a PE teacher for my career, I am an amateur engineer, so I understood very well when Dr. McMinn explained what he was going to do to my hip. It seemed a better idea to me than banging another piece of metal into your thigh bone as an interference fit. And he also explained the fact that it could be replaced easily and much easier than a standard hip replacement. I had no real reservations about the engineering. I didn't like to go for an operation at the time, but never mind. If it failed, I could always have a hip replacement. I went to the hospital and had a very good time there. After the operation, when I woke up from the anaesthetic, my arthritic pain was gone completely and has never returned. I had a little bit of wound pain, but I was up that day later in the afternoon to go to the toilet. I used a Zimmer frame for a day, crutches after that, and I have never used crutches since. After a week or two I was able to exercise and very quickly got back. Within a year I got back to my standard of fitness, which was very high. After the operation and I recovered, I was playing rugby to a high standard for the prison service national squad. I wasn't a prison officer, but I worked in a prison as a teacher, so I was allowed to play for them. I played second row forward or number 8, which is a very physically demanding position, and I never felt my hip at all. It never ever interrupted my game. Cycling I did at every opportunity. I was a very keen cyclist. I've ridden up things like Alpe d'Huez, Mont Ventoux, Col de Galibier, Col de Forclaz in France. About 10 years ago I was mountaineering in France when I saw some paragliders landing in the field next to where I was camped. I thought that looks very good. So when I got home I learnt to paraglide. And I did that on a regular basis, free paragliding from local hills and from this airfield where I am now on a tow line. About 6 years after that I took up hang gliding at this airfield. I was hang gliding on a regular basis for the rest of the time until September the 3rd, 2011, when I had a serious accident in France on the Charbres mountain. I crashed a hang glider, suffered major brain damage, from which I have recovered. It is the only injury I had apart from a cracked vertebra in my neck. Nothing else was damaged. My hip suffered no ill effects at all. It's as good now as it was before the accident, and is still better than all my other joints. I'm continuing to hang glide and paraglide. I'm thinking of buying a new hang glider rather similar to the one behind me at the moment to stay in the air because it is wonderful. After 10 years I received a request from Dr McMinn's surgery to go for a 10-year review of my hip, which I willingly did. It was x-rayed, and I asked the gentleman who saw me what the x-ray showed him, and he said it's perfect. He said there is no porosity, nothing wrong, and he asked me what I'd done with it, and I told him, and he said, you haven't treated it gently, have you? And I said, no. Was I supposed to? And he said no. And he was very pleased with it. I met a lady there who had had hers in for 18 years at the time, and she was still walking very well and had a second one done later than that. But it looks good for the future. I have absolutely no qualms about it at all. In the future, I intend to regain my fitness, which I've lost due to the hang glider accident, and continue to be a very active person, flying, cycling, motorcycling, playing a little bit of sport, ball sports and things, but not a huge amount of that. I've always been very cardiovascularly fit, and I intend to get back to that, and the hip is in no way standing in my way. My other hip is starting to worry me a little. It doesn't stop me doing anything at the moment, although some mornings I wake up and it's quite bad, but then it goes away. When it stops me doing anything, I will have it replaced with another McMinn prosthesis. I have had absolutely no problem with my hip. I have treated it very badly. I have not tried to defend it in any way. I have continued with my sports, even taken up more sports since, and it has been completely without effect, apart from the fact that I can now use my left hip better than any other joint in my body. It has been brilliant. The operation was quick. I recovered quickly. It has been superb. I cannot speak highly enough of it. I would like to say to Mr McMinn that I am incredibly grateful for him having given me back my life, because my active life was coming to a rapid end, and it has continued for 14 years and will continue for many more if I have anything to do with it. Thank you very much, sir.